What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to episode number 437, I think, of the Smark Moment Smack Talk podcast, Hot Tags of the Week, where we will be breaking down some of the current events, rumors, news, gossip, firings, releases, hellfire, brimstone, all the things that are happening in the world of professional wrestling and elsewhere in the past few days. I'm your host, as always, Tony Mango. Joining me, as always, is your other host here, Robert DeFelice.
How you doing today, Tony? You ready to get into this shitstorm of news?
It is a shitstorm indeed, and I apologize in advance for my nasally voice and however many times that I'm going to sneeze during this podcast, because I probably won't be able to mute myself in time, so you're going to hear a lot of in the middle of things and stuff. Allergies just wrecking me these past 2-3 days. Hopefully nobody else is feeling that, but I don't know, maybe there's a whole lot of pollen in the air or something. There's a whole lot of something in the air going around in 2020, you know. Hey, I got a joke for you, by the way.
Okay.
2020.
Yes.
That's the joke. That's what we got going on this year.
Well, it really is. It's a mess.
It really is a mess. We have a couple things to talk about here. We've got something from the WWE Network. We've got politics. We've got people being released. A whole, breakdown of stuff that we had talked a little bit about during the mailbag earlier this week on Wednesday, which was a live all hell's breaking loose discussion. But now we know even more information. We have an unfortunate passing. We have a trademark that kind of sucks. And we have TV shows to talk about. So we're all over the place here. Hopefully you guys enjoy this edition and all the insanity that comes along with it. And if you want to take part in that in some fashion, one of the ways that you can do that is by continuing the discussion in the comments section below. You can't leave a comment on the ones that don't have a comment section, because otherwise you'll just be kind of shouting at your screen and we won't be able to hear it. I'm not that good. But if you are listening to us on Spotify or Stitcher or iTunes or any of the other things like that, that don't have a comment section, leave us a star rating or a follow or a like or whatever they have on those platforms, and hop on over to either the page on smarkatmoment.com or on the actual YouTube page itself for this video. While you're over there, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that already, ring that little notification bell, because that way you'll be aware of when videos get posted, as well as when we go live, like we did for this past mailbag. Thank you to everybody who joined us on that. And just drop a comment below. Tell us your thoughts on these hot tags, on your thoughts on our thoughts on these hot tags, and anything else you want to talk about. Maybe you want to give us a sweet recipe for something, or you just want to complain about the state of current affairs in Guam. I don't know. I don't know why I went with Guam there.
Me neither.
I mean, yeah, maybe you are. Maybe that's for the one person out there that's like, wow, man, I've been waiting for that opportunity. Nobody ever asks me what I think about Guam, and finally, these guys know what it's at. So, I guess let's start with the stuff that's the furthest back, which is the Broken Skull sessions.
Oh, well, yeah, okay. It was good. It's Ric Flair. I will never say skip it to Ric Flair, because Ric Flair is just so colorful that he's just the man. He's never not been Ric Flair for me. And I want you to realize that I was born in 93. So by the time I was born, they were already making Ric Flair is old jokes.
It's funny that you say he's always colorful, because he's one person who gets color all the time.
Yeah, he fucking does. He's probably talking. He probably wanted to bust out the blade.
I am going to potentially say skip it, though. Actually.
Why? There's too much of the same stories?
A lot of Ric Flair things are a lot of the same, and some of it's stuff that we've heard before a million times. Some of it's just been like once or twice or something like that. But more so to me, I felt like there wasn't too much craziness to talk about. Like when he would start to talk about something that was kind of like, oh, here's going to be a funny story. It was more so him going like, yeah, but I don't want to talk about that. Like, I don't want to talk about the hotel stuff. It was like, come on, tell me about one of these.
I feel like Flair is in that place in his life where he's just like, yeah, I don't want to be Ric Flair. You know, like I don't want to tell people that I used to bang 10 women a night, kind of thing.
I was also disappointed that when I was watching it with Caroline, and I was like, in the next 10 seconds he's going to start crying because Austin just brought up Charlotte, and he didn't cry, and I'm like,
Oh,
Rick, like, you're proving me wrong here, because like more often than not,
job, Rick.
more often than not, when somebody brings up Charlotte Flair, they'll be like, hey Rick, like, what do you think about Ricky Steamboat? And he'll be like, best opponent I've ever faced, the best babyface of all time. So what do you think about Dusty Rhodes? Oh my God, he was brilliant. He was so good to work with. We had such great matches. Great friend of mine. I miss him so much.
Oh, hey, Charlotte.
What do you think? Yeah, like, hey, what's Charlotte been up to? And he'll just be like, like just kind of like, which is, it's great to see that too, because then it's like, oh, like he loves her so much that it even just being like the slightest bit is just sort of like, my baby daughter. Oh my God, I love her. Like that's
Do you
sweet.
think he loves her that much because she's the one that followed in his footsteps?
I don't know if it's maybe that is a big factor, or maybe it's just that he misses his son so much too that it ends up being like that.
And they're the
that
two
meant,
with the same mother, right? Like they're brother and
so.
sister.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because David is
David and
quite a bit
Megan
older.
are with the other one.
Yeah.
No, wait, I think maybe only Megan is. All I know is that Reed and Charlotte had the same mom.
And all I know is I had originally thought that he had like one kid, and then it ended up being like, oh, he's got like 10, and it's like, what the hell? Like, just out of nowhere. If you told me that he actually had like 4 other kids that I'm unaware of, I'd be like, all right, fine, I believe it. I'm sure there's probably some other ones that he doesn't even know.
No, yeah.
But maybe it's a matter of just, getting older and having more of a connection. Or maybe he has more of a connection with her. Maybe it's like the daddy's little girl type thing. She's the youngest, right?
She's the youngest girl. I believe Reed was the youngest.
Yeah?
I think so.
Huh. I thought that he was like a year older than her or something like that. That doesn't really matter. Point being, I was just like, damn, he proved me wrong. He didn't start crying immediately and stuff. But that's obviously not the reason not to watch it. I didn't walk away with a whole lot of super great stories that I was hoping to get out of it. So I felt a little bit disappointed.
So he's got 4 kids. He's got Megan, who's married to Conrad, David, who is, David, and like, I didn't know how else to say that. And then there's Reed, who sadly passed, and of course Charlotte.
David, who is David. Not married to Conrad. But
it's like because Megan's married to Conrad, so she's kind of relevant, I guess, because she's responsible for Conrad, who seems to be responsible for so much.
I know that she's a Bruce Pritchard fan.
She's a Bruce Pritchard fan. Reed was supposed to be like so good. I've never got to see him do anything in the ring, but it's always said that he was going to be like Kurt Angle good. And then there's Charlotte, who is just completely redefined what it means to be a women's wrestler.
It's so weird that we've missed out on some extra whole generation things. Like, I feel like we didn't get much out of DiBiase.
Oh,
we
we
didn't get much out of Curtis Axel.
Richie Steamboat, one
of the biggest issues when it comes to that, because he, for all intents and purposes, they all seem to have loved Steamboat.
And he just got a back injury, and that was it, huh?
Brett DiBiase was one.
Right, he's in jail now, I believe.
Yeah, some kind of like Ponzi scheme or something like that.
Yep.
There was at least one of the Samoans, right? Yeah, that okay. I was like, there's like a Samoan something.
Well,
or other, but
there's Simstuka, and then there's Manu, and Manu is just
Manu doesn't count.
Manu is far too close to the word manure to just not constantly go there.
That's always been my go-to thought. It's just manure, and just I don't know why they would have gone with that. Maybe it means something else, and like
probably does.
Probably means like Regal King or something like that. It's like
I liked him at first. I was like, he's a Samoan. There's no way he's not good. And I guess we got that full circle with Roman.
I wasn't a big fan of Manu. When he popped up, I'm like, why did they shrink Umaga? Just like take out the talent.
I mean,
hopefully he's up to something good now,
they can't all be,
The Rock.
the Rock, and there's a lot of good ones still, but yeah, there is a whole generation that we completely missed out on.
Slam Master Jay.
So, oh my God, you would think he'd be good. Cody Hall. I don't know if he's doing anything anymore.
Yeah, what the hell? We didn't. Vader's kid.
The one that was, he's not obviously because Bray Wyatt, but Vader's kid, Jake Carter. He was tagged with Corey Graves for a while, and he was with JoJo for a while.
With JoJo? Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Didn't know that. I didn't know the Corey Graves thing either. But yeah, like there's a whole generation of that where I remember however many years ago when they were starting to all come up, it was like, oh, we're going to get this big boom. And we're going to have, Mr. Perfect's kid against DiBiase's kid and Cody Rhodes and all this. It was.
And we got almost none of that.
Really? Yeah. Charlotte is, without a doubt, the best one out of that whole bunch.
We got Charlotte versus Natty, and it's not even like Natty's Brett's kid, like it's just a Hart versus a Flair.
And Harry Smith and Tyson Kidd, it was like, oh, that's the new British Bulldog and the new Dynamite Kid. Like, I mean, he's even called Kid.
Harry can go back today and they can make it right, but he has to go back today. Like it's been long enough that he has to go back now.
Yeah. That's a weird situation what we got going on with there. So it's a shame that we didn't get to see what Reed had to offer. But I would say if you're a big Ric Flair fan, you're going to watch it no matter what, and you should, because you should just watch more of anything that you like. But I wasn't super, super into this Broken Skull sessions. And I'm also disappointed that they stopped doing the uncensored versions. I thought that they should just do that going forward.
I think they'll probably just release them at a later date.
Maybe. We didn't get the Break It Down Ricochet. That might be tomorrow, actually, now I'm thinking about it.
It might be. I guess we'll talk about Ricochet in a bit when we talk about Raw, but I kind of like what they're doing with Ricochet right now. I like the idea that he's going to be in a tag team. Like, maybe it'll force them to utilize him.
Must be Monday.
Must be Monday.
We need to talk about, maybe we'll bounce around this way. Let's talk about this trademark. The Revival has been trademarking a bunch of different things here and there. And one of the things that they just recently trademarked is now Fear the Revolt, which seems like that would be potentially their new tag team name, or at least a way to justify that hashtag FTR.
Right.
I don't like it if it's just the Revolt, or if it's Fear the Revolt is the name of the tag team.
No, I don't want them to be the Revolt. It's too close to the Revival. But we have some semi-breaking news regarding the Revival, and I'm going to send you this link so you can react in real time. Cassidy Haynes of Bodyslam.net has broken a fair share of Revival news, and he has gotten his hands on some photos that were handed to the Revival when the idea was to repackage them as a comedy team. And let me tell you, if I saw those photos, I would want to leave as well.
Let's see what we got going on here. What the hell? So, for anybody that's not seen these pictures, I'm looking at one of them now. Did they have makeup on? Like,
I think they have clown makeup on.
like lipstick and...
Oh, they totally have lipstick on every one of these photos.
And it's like an orange and yellow...
For some reason, they literally look like a cross between clowns and like a 1990s, early 90s white interpretation of what rap is.
Yeah, it's Doink the Clown meets High Energy.
Really is. It's bad.
And then there's this other version where he's got on like that hat that Buff Bagwell used to wear.
Oh my god. What am I thinking of? Like, it's almost like a Cat in the Hat hat. It's like...
Yeah, mixed with really like a very Irish kind of theme going on. And
The
then the
point
same
is,
thing, blue and green. What? And then now they look like Ninja Turtles in that one.
and what are they holding?
Yeah, they're holding like Scrimmage sticks.
Why? What were you gonna do with the revival? Like,
They're gonna be Steve Blackman or something? Or are they glow sticks?
Oh, they're probably glow sticks.
Or are they candles? Like, well, I don't know what. This is awful. Whoever the hell thought that this was an idea to even pitch?
This can't be real. And I like Cassidy, but this cannot be real because they literally look like the creative department took PNGs of the revival and just started playing around.
They just painted in paint. Not even in Photoshop. It looks like it's from paint.
It doesn't even look like Photoshop. It's just not good.
Are you working?
Yeah.
This is awful. I really hate this. And I hope that they don't bring that into AEW. It's not just like, well, we're going to start doing that going forward. Fear the Revolt. That's the Revolt.
Yeah, I mean, if I was handed these photos, I would absolutely just, I quit.
If I were them and they sent those photos and said, this is what we're thinking for you, I'd laugh and go, no, but really.
No, like even all of the comments on these photos on Twitter are just like, yeah, okay, pal, and it's on the internet, so it must be true. But I mean, Cassidy has gotten some reliable revival information, and I can't see him willing to risk his reputation for this.
Yeah. Because that's not even a good enough joke to be like, oh, okay, like pulled the wool over your eyes. That's
April Fools.
Yeah.
It's the 18th, even though this whole month has been a joke.
Although, as much as that's so bad, and as much as I said I don't want them to bring that into AEW, it'd be kind of funny if they did.
It'd be terribly funny.
So I'm not digging Fear the Revolt, but they've trademarked so many different things at this point that who knows?
They should just be FTR, or they could. I guess they could be the Revolt. I'll get used to it. It's just, it sounds so. Hey, we were the Revival, and now we're the Revolt. Like, found a synonym. I found a synonym. That means we're good to go.
It sounds very similar to the way that TNA used to do some things.
That's what I'm thinking as well.
Where it was like, well, we can't be ECW originals, so we're EV 2.0.
Because if you chant it, it kind of sounds like EC-Dub, you know?
Yeah. And the whole setup of like, you know, copying theme songs and stuff. Like,
for whatever that's worth, they did that really well.
AEW did that with the Bret Hart theme, but they didn't bother to do that with, like, you know, Dustin Rhodes isn't coming out with a Goldust theme, for instance. So it's worth it to play around with some of those kind of things, and if something
they did trademark Say Yeah, so I wonder if their theme song is still going to start with the Say Yeah.
Say Yeah, then it'll just be, instead of it'll just be like some hardcore techno or something like and then they're gonna bring those glow sticks out. It's just like that'd be kind of awesome. We have, like, unfortunately, everything else to talk about is so goddamn negative.
It's so negative from here on out, folks. So we're sorry for those.
Yeah. So before we get into the negatives, let's talk about one positive thing here. If you like merchandise, if you like T-shirts that have some funny slogans on them, or, you know, playing around with some puns or some little wordplay or something like that, you might want to check out the stuff that we've got on TeePublic and Redbubble. Not only does Smark Out Moment have stuff, but Fanboys Anonymous has stuff, and A Mango Tees. So if you're interested in some different T-shirts or some other types of merch, and you want to laugh about, you know, even the coronavirus or something like that, then, you know, there's some parody designs up for that and plenty of other things. Check it out. Pick up those, whatever shirt or magnet or shower curtain or whatever. I still think it'd be really creepy if you bought a shower curtain of some of these things, but the option's there. I don't know. I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. Yeah, check that out. And if you want more on the fun side of things, where we just goof off and we try to just blow off some steam and stuff like that, one of the best things that we have going on right now to be able to do that are the dark casts, or the bonus features when it comes to Fanboys Anonymous, that we have on Patreon. They're Patreon exclusive, so you can only listen to them there. And if you get to the $10 or higher tier, that gives you access to those things. And those are the ones where we just, it'll be 2 a.m. and we'll just sort of be like, let's just record and just talk about some random stuff. Which Pokemon are you? I don't know. What about this? Like, we'll do that kind of stuff. So if you want to check them out, they're on patreon.com/smarkoutmoment or patreon.com/fanboysanonymous. And any kind of donation toward the Patreon helps out considerably, because not only do we not know what the hell's going on with the YouTube algorithm and everything going on like that, it's also just, weird times, and the website doesn't make tons of money as it is. So if you got $1 to spare, $1 a month can go a long way. And the more that goes in that kind of direction, the better. And it's just awesome. So thank you in advance to anybody who does donate towards that, whether it's $1 or the Pick Your Poison tier, where you can request some kind of a special feature, or anything other than that. Just any support that you guys do is awesome. So those are happy things. Let's get into some of those that aren't so happy. But this one's happy in a way that it isn't. In a weird way. We got to talk about this, because we're going back in time enough that
it's we're going to Fink.
Well, no, not happy on the Fink thing. There's nothing happy on the Fink thing. This is that WWE has been deemed an essential service. Now, it seems like this is already like so long ago, because every day feels like it's a whole week's worth of stuff happening lately.
Yeah.
But this is only a couple days ago. And here's a good timeline of events for some things. I forget which website had put this out there, so I apologize in advance. I should have written it down. It might have been Wrestling Inc., now that I'm thinking about it, so shout out to them. April 1st, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis issues an executive order for essential services after speaking to Donald Trump. 8 days later, he changes the order to include professional sporting events and media productions on the same day that Linda McMahon announces that her presidential super PAC will spend $18.5 million in Tampa and Orlando. April 10th comes by, Vince McMahon goes, hey, we're going to go live.
Yeah, and do you want to talk about what's happened since then?
Yeah.
How that was April 10th. That was 7 days. Okay, for clarification, Friday, April 10th in the morning, PW Insider puts out a report saying WWE is mass taping content. WWE will be taping all the way through Money in the Bank. This is the way we're going to go. That's it. By the end of SmackDown last week, Satin puts out a report. They're going live. And that's when the shit hits the fan, because that's when the real news outlets pick it up. That's when Rachel Maddow is tweeting, yeah, this isn't a joke, I checked. And that's when, all of a sudden people want to know why WWE is allowed to run.
Yeah.
And the best answer that the mayor of Orange County can give is, well, they weren't an essential service, and then they talked to the governor, and then they were. Which already sounds like, I'm going to grease your palm here, pal.
Right.
And then you factor in Donald Trump goes on the news on Tuesday and says, we're going to reopen the country, and I'm tired of watching 14-year-old baseball games on TV. I want to watch sports again, and we have a whole team of sports leaders to help us plan reopening the country. And he goes through the names, and then when he gets to only 2 people, Dana White of UFC and Vince McMahon, does he say, the great Vince McMahon of WWE. Just to make it even more alluding.
This year is insane. It is absolutely insane. Why the hell, a couple months ago, now, I mean, let's put it this way. Actually, the past 2 years have been crazy. But it just ramps up the craziness. And we have had plenty of discussions off air about things where you've told me, you're like, man, I really feel like maybe I should get into more of like reporting news of like real news and not pro wrestling. Maybe like I feel like I could make a difference and do like report about things that matter. And it's like, here you
And
go.
yeah,
Here you go, Rob. You want to think of this kind of stuff?
you
You want
know,
to talk about the presidential pandemic response and the World Health Organization and stuff and have it actually tie into pro
for
wrestling?
wrestling, I guess I should feel partially responsible for the nonsense for me wanting to report more game changing things, and this has been a game changer all year long. Like this has been just the worst. But the fact that Trump calls him the great Vince McMahon and says he's going to help him figure out how to reopen the country is madness.
Why the hell are we in 2020, a year that should be well past the point where we have flying cars and teleportation things and diet pills that you take the pill and then you just lose weight and cures for cancer and AIDS and all these other kind of things, like the cure for the common cold. And we're living in these like these pods that can go up to Mars if you decide to live on that thing, and there's whalers on the moon and like all this other kind of crap. Why should we have a situation like that? And instead we're talking about how WWE Hall of Famer President Donald Trump is referring to the great Vince McMahon as a way to reopen the country for a pandemic. What the hell?
It's just another. Well, we took a wrong turn in the time-space continuum. It's got to be something like that.
Is this all going back to Brock Lesnar should not have beaten The Undertaker?
I mean, maybe.
We talked about this when we did Wrestling is 2020. Like, we can go back and talk about the Universal Championship being off kilter because Finn Balor should have never won that, and the Kevin Owens thing gets thrown off weird because of Goldberg and whatever, but it all comes down to Brock Lesnar shouldn't have beaten Undertaker. And we are in the worst timeline because Brock Lesnar should have lost that match and then everything would be fine. And in 2020, in that other parallel universe, we're talking about how, wow, we thought that Avengers Endgame was going to be the highlight of last year. And then 2020 came around and we had this amazing thing and this amazing thing. And the gold is raining down from the sky and we found the cure for death. And like, just nowadays everybody farts out I don't know, the vanilla ice cream.
Yeah.
Just like, and in that parallel universe everybody's going, I wonder what would have happened if Brock would have won. And they're like, I don't know, poor bastards in the parallel universe. And here we are.
And then you fast forward to yesterday, Friday the 17th, and out comes another exclusive from Ryan Satin. They're back to bulk taping content. And they're bulk taping content through July 8th. So we are going to have television in the cam for July 8th.
And we also have these reports that WrestleMania in Hollywood.
Oh, we're getting there. We have more crazy news because of this coronavirus.
That might not happen, and it might happen for two different reasons. One of them might be that we might still not have people, able to run these kind of shows, but also that they might not be able to finish SoFi Stadium in time. And whether that's the alternative for this next year or for 2022, at first, at the very least, when all these things came out, it came out as part of 2022. But the other part of this is not only is there that super PAC money, and not only is there some other kind of way to grease the wheels when it comes to this, I'm kind of thinking, of course, I'm speculating and stuff.
Next year ends up being in Tampa instead.
I would assume either WrestleMania in 2021 happens in Tampa or 2022 happens in Tampa.
It's 2022 I thought was a given. Even when I thought by May we would be out of this and back to normal, I thought 2022 was a given. Because there's no way that they don't run Tampa. But if they can somehow get it next year, and then somehow even more magically get it to where it's the first large gathering, WWE will eat that up.
And it's a very good possibility for either of those. I don't think that it's going to happen back to back, but then again, we don't know what's going to happen next month. We don't know what happens, next year, whatever the case may be. I'm kind of assuming, maybe blissfully ignorant, that we'll have WrestleMania in Hollywood. Like, if things are that bad that we're not back to normal by a full year from now,
then we need to worry about much more than WrestleMania.
Then we need to start, batten down the hatches and stuff like that. But at least 2022 seems like it's very, very likely that would be Tampa again. And that seems like that's another thing to kind of butter somebody up, is like, well, you didn't get it the way that you wanted to. 2022, we haven't figured that out yet. Let's come back to Tampa. Let's bring all that revenue. Let's do all that kind of stuff. You don't have to put in your bid the way that you normally would with all that other kind of stuff,
Yeah, and I think that it happens in Tampa, definitely 2022, but listen, next year, they never used any of the set, I'm sure, so they still have set pieces just sitting around. And Tampa wants to open up. We opened up the beaches. Florida's already trying to open up again. So it's gotta be. But it doesn't make any of this right. Any of this,
no.
The great Vince McMahon,
this just seems more and more like this is like some shady kind of like mob deal stuff going on or whatever.
And the funny thing is, and I wanted to tweet this out, but you'll understand this. You just kind of want to laugh, because I've been saying to everybody, and I'm sure you have too. Yeah, I haven't noticed how long quarantine has been on. I've been busier.
Yeah.
And now everybody's like, what is this that WWE gets to run and nobody else does? It's like, yeah, pretty weird, isn't it? This is what I cover. So, this is life.
And I, for anybody that's wondering if I'm grateful of that or not, yeah, I am grateful. I can still keep doing my job in a relatively normal way. And that's something that's super awesome, especially compared to a lot of people that are unfortunately out of their work and they can't get unemployment and all this other kind of stuff like that. That's great. But it's still just that's stupid. Why the hell am I still doing my job when people are out there that have much, much more important jobs than I do and are not? I don't get how construction on roads isn't happening. I'm now's the perfect time to do that. If you want people to start going back to work and start doing this and whatever like that, while people aren't traveling as much, fix the roads. Do it. Hire more people to do it. I'm not a big history buff, and I'm sure that somebody who is a history buff can prove me wrong on this kind of stuff. But when it comes to a lot of things that I've been told in the past and studied in the past and everything like that, it seems like when you want to get out of a recession or a depression, one of the best ways of doing it is public works. Why not have now a time where people don't have as much employment going around and you're trying to encourage social distancing and getting outside, getting fresh air and doing things that don't require you to I'm going to sit in an office and I'm going to shake hands with all these people at a conference table and whatever. Wouldn't it make a whole lot of sense to be let's hire a bunch more construction workers and let's have all these roads fixed up and let's change the infrastructure of this and whatever. Maybe I'm completely being dumb about this, but that would be we would almost kind of look at this and go, oh man, that 2020 year where we fixed everything and everybody kind of got back to normal and all that, instead of being well, what's running now? Grocery stores, hospitals, and fucking pro wrestling. What the fuck?
It's so wrong.
It's so strange, and it feels like we've been normally doing the hot tags on Mondays, every once in a while Tuesdays for years now, and it became it's a little bit more convenient to do it on Fridays for a little bit here and there, just because of a couple different days. We might go back to Mondays. It kind of depends. It's all over the place, but now it seems like we're well, the longer we wait, the better it is because everything keeps changing, and it's currently 3:30 on Saturday. by the end of the night, we're going to have something different, you know?
Yeah, I'm gonna refresh the news just to see if we have something different right now.
It might be. It might be like, you know what? Instead, we're not getting taped things. Instead, they're going to record them all through audio, and it's going to be a radio broadcast. We're going to go back in time to that kind of thing, and War of Worlds is going to pop up. Very weird situation. And unfortunately, another bad thing that comes along with this is Black Wednesday that they're referring to it. And we talked about this on...
Oh, hold on. Do you wanna go through this promo schedule real quick?
What's the promo schedule?
Not promo schedule, this taping schedule.
Is there information about it? Yeah.
So, obviously, we got through yesterday. SmackDown airs live. Raw will air live. NXT will air live. And next SmackDown will air live for the rest of next week. Following that, on Saturday, April 25th, SmackDown will tape for May 1st and May 8th. That Monday, Raw will tape for that night and the following week. That Wednesday, NXT will tape for that night and the following week. And then you do it again. And this process repeats through Wednesday, July 1st, where NXT will tape for July 1st and July 8th. So at the least, we know that through the middle of July, this will be a thing. Shows will be at the Performance Center. This isn't changing.
At least according to their current plan.
According to their current plan, which would mean this is 5 months straight of WWE television at the Performance Center.
It's a whole new era.
It's a whole entire thing, which, and we'll get more into this as we talk about the later stuff, but how much does that affect storylines? Like, you can't just go back in an arena and be like, okay, now that we're back, sorry, all of the talent that we've been using, your storylines no longer matter. Well, you can, because they're them, but they shouldn't.
That's also weird to think that, like, Drew McIntyre, for instance, he may lose the championship at some point. And he might be like, I was WWE champion, and I never once had a single person be able to cheer for me.
God, that's so crazy.
Because even like a one-day title reign, you got, Kane won the title, how he's got boos, he goes on Raw the next night, and whatever. McIntyre hasn't had that.
Nope. McIntyre's had the big show, but he hasn't had an audience of people.
Like, that's crazy. And, we might, we'll save this for the talking about SmackDown and stuff, but we'll talk about Money in the Bank in a little bit. Well, let's go into a rundown of Black Wednesday. That's what they're referring to, the mass set of releases. It's not just Wednesday. It moved on past Wednesday at different points. But we've gotten a lot of people released over the past couple of days. Far too many people from what I feel is even justified. We talked about it on the mailbag, but we've gotten more people since then. We've got more clarification of some of these things. I'm sure I'm even missing some of these people, but I've got a list. So I even stopped actually giving my thoughts on them because there was just too many people. But tell me if I'm off on anybody or if I'm missing anybody on this. So I've got, in no particular order, mostly in the order of when I had come across the messages of their announcements. We got Lio Rush, EC3, Karl Anderson, Luke Gallows, Curt Hawkins, Zack Ryder, Drake Maverick, Hurricane Helms, Heath Slater, Eric Young, Billy Kidman, Mike Rotunda, Fit Finley, Pat Buck, Sean Daivari, Scott Armstrong, Sarah Stock, Lance Armstrong, I was going to call him that again, Lance Storm, Kurt Angle, the writer who was responsible for the Otis and Mandy story, Andrea something or other, I don't have her name written down on here.
Andrea Listenberger.
Aiden English, Sarah Logan, referee Mike Chioda, Eric Rowan, the Colognes, Mike and Maria Kanellis, Zack Ryder. I don't think I said Zack Ryder yet, but if I did, Zack Ryder, No Way Jose, Rusev, Alexander Jacek, I think it's how you pronounce it, maybe it's Jacek, Deanna Purrazzo, MJ Jenkins or Monique Jenkins, Josiah Williams. I don't know if this is true or not, but Norman Smiley?
Not true.
Not true. Okay. Serena Deeb?
Yes.
Ace Steel?
Yes.
Kendo Kashin?
Yep.
Kashin? I'm entirely sure how to pronounce his name. Another one of the trainers in that. He has been confirmed.
Yep.
Jerry Soto?
Yep.
Doria Mack? That
Yep.
was Dan Matha. Johnny LaQuasto? Alyssa Marino, who I don't even know who Alyssa Marino is.
I couldn't find a single photo of her.
Cassius Ono.
Yes, but that's up in the air. Like, he was moved to the
alumni page,
alumni
right?
section. He changed his Twitter name to WWE Alumni. But nope.
That's his name, is WWE Alumni?
Yeah, well, not like his act, but like the name section just says WWE Alumni. And he won't confirm or deny. And there's also rumors that he might have been furloughed because he was working backstage.
Huh. I'm going to put a question mark on that. Tino Sabatelli.
Yep.
Tanara Conchi.
Yep.
Which hashtag released or whatever she had put up before.
Oh, yeah.
Nick Ogarelli or Nick Camarado.
Yeah.
Cesar Bononi.
Chiquita Banana.
Mars Wang. We're 12.
Yeah, no, he got
Edgar Lopez.
Yeah, I don't know who that is, but yeah.
Faisal Kurdi.
Faisal. I don't know if he had. What's his last name?
Faisal.
Faisal. Earlier this morning. Yeah, it's Faisal Kurdi. Hussein
Aldagal.
And Yifeng from China, who was wrestling solely as Rocky.
Marcos Gomez.
Mohammed Fahim.
Omari Palmer.
Yeah, he's a performance center recruit who did really well in that athletic competition they had.
Am I missing anybody else?
So far, no. That's everybody I have. And I'm checking the Fightful stuff. I mean,
it seems like it's like, my God, how could I possibly be missing anybody else? But then it's like, the next time you turn around, it's like, oh, and by the way, this person.
I think we're going to get a few more of those. Oh, by the way, they released some performance center signee.
Well, this is one of the discussions that I wanted to have, and this sounds awful, and I don't mean it to be this way in like a jokey way or, well, they should do more spring cleaning kind of way, but I really kind of wanted to assess this list versus a list of other people, because I've heard other people talking about these topics, and I've thought it myself too. I'm looking at this list, and I'm sitting there going, why would they release, for instance, well, let's put it this way. Some of these I completely understand. It sucks that anybody got released in any fashion, whether they're the talent or they're the producers or they're the people the ring crew or the editors or the writers or literally anybody in any job, WWE or not. It sucks if they lost their job. I don't wish that upon anybody. So right. I don't want any of this to come off as being like, I wish they would have fired this person. No, that's not the case. But I look at this list and I go, why would you release somebody like Mike Chioda, for instance, who has been a part of the company for so many years? Like, you can go back to, I think it's the 92 Royal Rumble, and he's like a referee on the outside
He started in 1989. He's been with the company longer than I've been alive.
And you release that guy? Like, you still need referees. Yet, for instance, you didn't release Lars Sullivan? I can't imagine that Mike Chioda is making more money than Lars Sullivan. And I know that some people would try to make the argument, well, Mike Chioda's a referee and you don't need that many referees, but Lars Sullivan, he could be something. Bullshit. At this point, Lars Sullivan dug 15 different
Holes for
holes for
himself.
him to get himself out of, and he didn't. And I get also the idea that, like, you don't want to really necessarily release somebody when they're injured, because that's kind of shitty, but because then how are they going to find a job? Well, they can't find a job right now anyway, because pro wrestling is not the way that it normally is. You can't just go to MLW. You can't just go to New Japan. It's not the same circumstances. So I would think this would be a very good opportunity for WWE to release somebody like a Lars Sullivan and to kind of prioritize somebody like that who has multiple issues than to release people who didn't cause any problems.
On the flip side of that, it must be a thing. It has to be a thing that they might have him in some kind of program for his mental health or whatever it is.
Maybe.
Yeah, it has to be.
And for the record, like, we don't know that stuff, so maybe that is the case. But it still seems
we
weird.
are speculating, and we're not saying people should lose their job. No, that is the last thing anybody wants.
Right.
But when you look at the fact that they released names such as Drake Maverick, No Way Jose, Sarah Logan, and Leo Rush.
Heath Slater.
Right, but specifically those four, Rush, No Way Jose, and Logan were all flown in for Raw recently.
Right.
And you just release them? Deonna Purrazzo was on Raw 2 weeks ago, and you're choosing to release her? Now, there's all sorts of things that are up in the air, like some things are said they went to people who they felt they could make a deal with. You know? They went to people who they felt maybe wanted out anyway. I know Gallows and Anderson, I thought they had just signed. When they
Not that long ago.
So clearly they went to them and said, hey, can we make a deal? You guys can go back to Japan.
I feel like, and again, of course, all this speculation, blah, blah, blah. I feel like looking at this list speaks volumes in a lot of ways. It shows that they got rid of some people that were jobbers. They got rid of some people that people wouldn't think are jobbers, but they do. And more so people that they kind of, I guess, like, didn't see a future in. And who cares if somebody picks them up, kind of a thing.
With Gallows and Anderson, and those, I know a lot of people said Rusev, like Eric Bischoff said Rusev. Rusev seemed like he was on the way out.
Yeah, Rusev is not he's arguably the biggest name out of this bunch, yet he's not a surprise at all to me. I figured he was gone even if any of this stuff wouldn't have happened.
The one that surprised me was Gallows and Anderson, because they were, for all intents and purposes, featured in the main event of WrestleMania on night 1. Just last week or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was.
7 months ago, the way this news cycle
feels.
It
feels like it was 7 months ago, but I assure you it wasn't.
Actually, the one that surprises me the most is Drake Maverick.
Because they just announced him that week?
Like, this dude has not been wrestling. And they finally give him a chance to wrestle. And before it even happens, they release him. And
however,
he puts out that video where he's like, I watched that video. I didn't get a chance to watch that when we were talking about it on Wednesday. That's heartbreaking, because you could tell that this guy is just like, I just lost my dream job, and I'm very appreciative that they're going to let me wrestle in the rest of this tournament. And it's like, God damn it, hire this guy back. Come on.
Yeah, he gets hired back too. Like, the part that broke me, that I almost started crying in that video, was because, you know, there's a lot of people I'm just not going to say goodbye to. And it's just like, yeah, everything is changing.
I get the road agents.
And they're furloughed.
Yeah, they're furloughed, and I understand it in a sense of, well, we don't really need a whole lot of producers if we're not doing live events. Okay, I get it. And if you release all of them, or furlough all of them, or whatever, it sucks, but it makes sense. You're not running live events. That's like saying, I got this one chef at my restaurant. All he does is he makes ice cream. And you know what? We're not making ice cream anymore. Well, all right, Phil. I don't know why he's named Phil. But like, we got to let you go because that's your whole purpose is to do that job. And we don't have that job anymore. I get it. And I can understand some people, as much as it sucks, I get why they picked like Eric Young. They have not been valuing Eric
They've
Young.
done nothing with Eric Young. I don't blame that for that at all. I did get very heated with the No Way Jose one because you just had the man travel in for Raw to let him go 2 days later.
I don't get I get Mike and Maria Kanellis. They seemed like they wanted a bigger deal and it wasn't really worth it. I don't get Eric Rowan.
Me neither.
That's a surprise to me. I don't get Sarah Logan.
That's another one. And I'm going to throw out another theory here. This is just a theory. This is just me speculating. I wonder if they looked at Sarah Logan and what they did with her on Raw and said, all right, that's as good of a write-off as we can give you. You know, Shayna Baszler broke your arm. Just like with Gallows and Anderson, listen, guys, last time you were featured on TV, you were with The Undertaker. He blows up the house that you were in. You can go. Like,
see, Gallows and Anderson to me, I think is a matter of you guys are making a lot of money and we don't think you're worth it.
I think it's more like, all right, we have this steak that is AJ Styles, and you guys are some great twice baked potatoes, but we only really need the steak.
Yeah. You're going to pay for the steak. The sides come with it. Kind of thing.
And did you see AJ's video?
No, but I had seen that he had said something about like how he felt responsible for them.
Yeah, that was sad. He's like, I'm frustrated. I feel sad. I'm heartbroken. I feel like it was my job to protect them and I didn't. And I wonder if in so many words he's saying, I should have been important enough
to keep their jobs.
Yeah, that they're important enough. And I feel like I'm failing because our act didn't deem them important enough. Because let's be real, AJ Styles has to be completely repackaged. He's buried alive.
Yeah, he can't do the OC because he doesn't have the OC.
There's no OC and he was buried alive. He has to come back as full-on babyface AJ Styles.
I don't think they're going to babyface him. I think that they're going to have him just be AJ Styles, cocky douche, but he's just by himself. EC3 makes sense to me. He was somebody that they weren't pushing at all. They didn't seem to get it with him. And even though I had specifically, I mean, I told the story before, I bumped into EC3 at an airport before he came to WWE. And I was like, dude, when are you going to come back to WWE at some point? Like, you would kill it in NXT. And he was like, well, you know, like, we'll see, like that kind of thing. And I was just like, that'd be great. He was going to the House of Hardcore thing at the time. And I was just like, well, you know, like, I'd love to see you back in NXT, man. Like, that'd be awesome. And when he came in, it was great because I'm like, EC3 is awesome. I loved him as Derek Bateman. They fucked him up on the main roster. They didn't do a damn thing with him. And at this point, it makes sense. You get rid of him. When he comes back from his concussion stuff and he's ready to go, and if and when any companies can pick him up, he will do much better in AEW. He will do much better in NWA, in MLW. You know, I'm hoping he goes to AEW, but that's because I watched that one and I like EC3. But like, he'll be fine.
He'll do okay going back to Impact. He'll do all right. He'll do more than all right in MLW. He'll do really good in Ring of Honor because they need people right now. And I think wherever he goes, he'll be taken care of. It's kind of like the Matt Hardy thing.
Yeah.
Where like he was super over outside of WWE, that people are going to be so stoked to have something like that that's super over again.
I feel like Heath Slater is a slap in the face.
Yeah, man, that's something.
Like, this dude has been in your company for, what he said, 16 years?
15, 16 years.
And he's been largely a jobber the entire time, and everything that they give him to do, he just smiles and does it.
Wait a minute. You're telling me this guy's been signed with them since 2004?
A part of FCW, I would assume, maybe. Or maybe he's talking about 16 years when he started wrestling.
Yeah, maybe 16 years in the industry. Because if he's been there that long, that's crazy.
But it wasn't that much. I mean, it's been at least 10 years.
It's been 10 years since the Nexus. So he's been on the main roster at least 10 years.
Yeah, so you add at least a year onto that for FCW.
Yeah, we're talking 16 years in the industry, and he signs in 06.
So 14 years he's been in the company.
He signs in 06. What the fuck?
And you get rid of him.
Wow.
That's shitty. I think Mike Chioda is really shitty. I really don't understand how it took them until... shout out to Awesome Piano Man. He sent me this message. He said, it took a pandemic to get rid of the colognes. Like, they couldn't... I'm wondering if they would have released the colognes last year or the year before or the year before or the year before, because this has been going on for a while where they were just completely worthless on this roster. And that's not to say that they're bad talents. I'm just saying they were not used at all. That's how worthless they were. If you would have released them 3 years ago, the amount of money that you would have saved, I wonder how many people you would have been able to keep.
Yeah.
You kept Primo and Epico for no reason. They were literally not used for the past 2 years.
They were never used, ever.
I mean,
it was laughable when they suspended the one.
It's crazy to me. And I really feel like some people, it makes sense. Deonna Purrazzo, it seems like she's given off a vibe that she actually wanted to be released.
Yeah, which I don't get. Because, listen, you can't say they weren't utilizing her. They were.
They were doing something with her. They weren't.
But she was constantly, like, you could tell that they thought enough of her that they kept bringing her in for main event and Raw and stuff like that.
I feel like, and I don't know Deonna, so I don't know, but I feel like maybe she thought that she should be far higher up on the ladder.
And maybe, and there's an arguable point that maybe she should have.
Yeah. And they probably felt like, well, you got something, and we're going to tweak you, and we're going to get you there, but you're not there quite yet, so we'll just keep using you in the meantime and all that. And to be fair, this might be the best thing for Deonna, too, because if she goes to AEW, then she might be way better off.
AEW can use her, Ring of Honor can use her, Impact can use her right now.
MJ Jenkins, I didn't see all that much, but she could go a couple different places, and I'm sure she's learned quite a bit. I feel like some of the people from NXT, this sounds mean, but they were so unknown to me that it doesn't matter to me when, like, it doesn't matter, because again, I don't want anybody to lose their jobs, but like, you were like, who's Edgar Lopez? I have no idea. And, like, so
Ogarelli to me, was used on every house show.
Yeah, Nick, I know personally. I mean, I've helped Nick cut promos, so I've helped him figure out the Wrecking Ball name. Like he used to go by the Wrecking Ball. But like, so I know Nick.
We have to get some fun stories out of that with the working with Sean and Hunter.
Working with Sean and Hunter?
Like, think about it. He's had to have worked with them at least once.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
At the Performance Center or something.
I mean, like, I know Nick.
They kept Bugenhagen on, speaking of Nick, because they were a pair.
We're going to have to go through the roster, and we're going to have to compare, like, some of the people that they kept and stuff like that, because some people, like, again, I get, even like Dorian Mack, Dan Matha. For some reason, they just never got started with Dan Matha.
He was going to be the biggest star of all time. What do you mean?
Like, they gave him this big push. It's like, Dan Matha's coming in, and he's going to get fucking wrecked by Samoa Joe. What the hell? Why? And then they like waited a year, and then he popped up as a half of a team with Riddick Moss. And then they started wrestling on NXT UK and whatever. And like, that's weird to me. I feel like the Zack Ryder thing's a real shitty thing. Ryder loves this company.
It's odd to me that they would let Ryder go, knowing that Ryder's got a job waiting for him. You saw the post from Cody, right?
Right. Cody's basically like, I'm going to grab you. Like,
Cody had said it when they first started. They asked him, who's the one guy you would get from WWE? And he's like, you might think it's weird, but Zack Ryder.
Right. So he's going to AEW.
I have to admit, he's going by Matt Cardona, which is fine. That's his real name. I always thought they'd keep the Brett Major or something just because he seems to like that word Major. They use the podcast stuff for the action figures and all that. But I have to assume him and Hawkins are going to AEW.
I would assume so too. And this might be one of those things where WWE is looking back on this in a year or two or whatever, and they're going, God damn it. And it's like, well, you snooze, you lose. Like, these guys were good, and you didn't do anything with them, and you let them go for some reason in a time frame where I feel like maybe this will be the type of thing where it's like, I know other companies have done it. They're like, well, all right, our CEOs are not going to take salary. And then you keep the people.
And I feel like, this is personal. I feel like Ryder, as somebody who is known, is more valuable to your brand than I'm only gonna say his name. I don't mean to disrespect Bez, but like a Babatunde.
Yeah.
Like Zack Ryder is more well known to your brand. Like, you could have trimmed the fat that came from you being egregious and greedy and saying, I'm going to lock everybody up into a contract that I possibly can so that, nobody can have anybody. That's why this happened. And I genuinely hope, that coming out of this, we don't have that anymore.
I'm hoping that a smaller roster means that WWE also cuts down on shows. I hate to say that I want less, but like, we don't need 205 Live.
They still haven't stopped 205 Live, so I think we're sticking with 205 Live.
And we don't need main event. And I'm very curious about this, and I think that we should kind of pivot over to this kind of topic right now. There hasn't been a single announcement of anybody from NXT UK being released.
It's such a small brand. And whether it's true or not, there's so many rumors and hate. I don't want to say hate groups, but like, there's so much hate on them for quote unquote ruining the UK independent scene that perhaps they feel a certain obligation to keep these people employed.
Well, I would assume like Sam Gradwell. He hasn't wrestled since, I think, like right after the tournament because he's been injured. I would assume that they would have released him.
They don't want to release anybody injured. EC3, I think they released, and he's injured only because he wanted to go and they knew, okay, just go.
I would assume that they would have released maybe somebody like Ashton Smith or Amir Jordan or Saxon Huxley or The Hunt. Like, the people that, like, if they're going to start cutting people from NXT UK, they're not going to get rid of Walter. They're not going to get rid of Ilya Dragunov. Some of these people, Tyler Bate, the ones that they're actually kind of like building the brand around. Pete Dunne is not going to be one of their go-to releases, or at least, realistically shouldn't be. But like, it's weird that they didn't release a single NXT UK person. And looking at this list of some other people, I mean, we'll just toss out some names. I'll toss out some names. I'll be the person who throws himself on that sword. I'm surprised that they didn't get rid of maybe like Arya Davari. I like Arya Davari. I like a lot of the people
Yeah,
I'm
I
going to
don't
suggest
think
too.
they were gonna get rid of both of the Davaris in one foul swoop.
A lot of the people I'm going to name, I like, by the way. Like, I like Arya Davari, but I'm surprised they didn't get rid of him. I'm really shocked they didn't get rid of Gentleman Jack Gallagher. I thought that he was gone anyway. Like, I had this feeling that he was going to leave WWE before any of this pandemic stuff happened. I was just
Isn't he in the tournament? Didn't he just come back?
He's been back here and there. And he's in the tournament, but so is Drake Maverick, you know?
Fair.
So
Okay.
I was shocked about that we didn't get that. But we still might, too. That's what's weird about this. We still might get these kind of announcements. I haven't seen anything of Marina Shafir and Jessamine Duke for months.
They're not going to get rid of him.
I'm a little bit shocked we didn't get rid of Vanessa Bourne. I like her, but
I hold on to that one.
is that potentially on the bubble?
I read something from a tweet from Casey of Squared Circle Sirens that was like, well, Bourne's been in Arizona for a while. So maybe she is on the bubble.
Wouldn't shock me because they don't seem to really be pushing her too much. And, you know, that like.
I'm going to say something and then I'm going to follow it up with this. I would not make this decision. I would not get rid of the Iconics. But the way they use them, they might as well.
Yeah, they've been gone for however many months.
But I would also say, if you get rid of the Iconics, can you scrap the women's tag titles? Like,
yeah, at this point, I don't know what they're going to do with that.
It was a cute idea that you can't get rid of because you kind of used it as an extension of your women's evolution deal, but you haven't done anything with it. It's kind of whatever. Just scrap the belt. Or, and this is something I've been thinking about too, merge the brands. I don't know why I whispered that, but I would really like it if they merged the brands. If they just said, you know, let's come together, let's be one giant WWE. Because they're not doing... What good is a Raw and SmackDown separation doing anybody right now?
I guess they're just hoping to ride it out and go back to normal.
I guess.
I'm looking at the NXT group right now and some other people that stand out to me. I'm surprised they didn't get rid of Killian Dane.
I'm thankful they didn't.
Maybe the reason why they didn't get rid of Fandango is because he's injured.
I was a little surprised that they kept Breeze.
I was very surprised that
I'm glad that they did. I'm glad that they did, though.
Yeah, because Breeze seemed to be... They've mentioned multiple times in the past that he was on the cutting...
Breeze would be so much better off
block.
And maybe they use him as like a mind because he has his own school. So you can like, hey, who are you training that's a good future superstar, you know?
To kind of replenish the division eventually.
Yeah.
I'm shocked that Kona Reeves made the cut.
No comment?
Is that a matter of you being like, why didn't they fire that guy? Like, I'm really shocked that they didn't release Danny Burch.
No, Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan are good.
Oney Lorcan was on the cusp of being released before.
Yeah, but they're too good. He throws his finger up in the air and it's like, I can't release you.
Boa. Surprised about Boa. I'm surprised, even though, I mean, again, I like a lot of these people, so it's not like I'm saying that person sucks and they should release this guy. But Arturo Huas, they've sat on him for so long that I was just like, I assumed that he would have been gone.
I think it's telling that they have kept him in spite of dropping Benoni and Conchi. And he was doing some stuff with Evolve, so I think they see a future in Huas.
I'm real shocked Dana Brooke didn't get cut.
More on that later.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it seems like the complete opposite of what's going on. Very shocked about Mickie James, actually.
Nah, she's injured. She's a lifer. You can use her as a coach at the PC.
On the SmackDown side of things, looking at that list right now, I've been waiting for them to announce that Robert Roode is gone.
I don't want that. I'll cry.
Yeah.
I'll cry because not because it's like, oh, you had such a good career going, but because of the opposite. It's like, oh, you finally got there, and kind of like Eric Young, you did a lot in NXT, and then you get to that main roster, and they just had no fucking clue.
I'm actually very shocked they didn't get rid of Tucker.
Thankful.
That's one of those weird things that WWE does here and there, where they'll just be like, I don't know, this tag team is really getting somewhere. How about we release one of them or something? Like, they've done that plenty of times.
That would have sucked, because that would have been like, you're losing half of Otis. And yeah, he's got Mandy right now, but that's not lasting forever. Come on.
Yeah, but it's something that I could have totally seen them doing, where they were like, well, we don't need Tucker anymore because Otis is getting over, and we're not going to use the heavy machinery thing, so we'll just keep Otis. That's the one. That's the money guy. Like, you know. We talked about Lars Sullivan. Lucha House Party.
A little surprising, considering that
two of them were talking about leaving.
Two of them wanted to go, but maybe it's we need you right now. Please don't go.
I'm still a little shocked about Shinsuke Nakamura. I'm shocked about Shorty G.
Yeah, I thought if there was another round, he might be in there.
I am surprised that we didn't get some... not some. We didn't get both of the B team.
I was waiting for that one to come up because that's the one that surprises me the most.
Like, if you're going to get rid of Heath Slater, you're not going to get rid of the B team? Like, it's just kind of... Slater, Zack Ryder, and Curt Hawkins or the B team or something. I would have thought that the B team probably would have gone, but again...
Maybe you don't want to fire father and son on the same day.
Maybe. We know that Kairi Sane is a possibility. That still might be lingering.
I can't see that happening.
You mentioned the Iconics. On the Raw side of things, they seem to really love Titus O'Neil, so I'm not too shocked about that, but I wouldn't have been shocked.
He's so good for PR.
PR, yeah. Shelton is surprising to me that they don't have him on the list.
Trainer, potentially, I guess.
I'm shocked that they didn't get rid of Riddick Moss. Although that might just be like, well, he's somebody we're investing in and, you know, whatever, that kind of thing.
Yep.
And I think that might have been it on my list of people that I was just
I thought about R-Truth for 5 seconds. And I was like...
Nah, they love him too much.
I was like, if they get rid of Truth, then you know something's wrong.
Oh, Akira Tozawa was the other one.
That's a surprise. That's a surprise.
Because they've been jobbing him out. And yeah, he's in the tournament, but again, so is Drake Maverick. So
somebody must have made that call without realizing that they put Drake Maverick in this tournament.
Yeah.
That has to be what it is. Somebody must have thought, oh, we haven't done anything with Drake since the 24/7 title. Let's cut him. And then somebody must have went, no, we just announced him for this tournament.
I'm really shocked that like some of these other people that may or may not have actually been released, but maybe they just haven't been, you know, noteworthy people enough to go around the, you know, the water cooler. But like, you look at something like The Bump. The Bump has Kayla Braxton, Matt Camp, Evan Mack, Ryan Popola, Dan Vollmeyer, and Mackenzie Mitchell. 6 people to host that show.
Here is my argument for everybody on The Bump. If you get rid of them, you immediately know you don't want to send out too many red flags. You know what I mean? So you get rid of Ryder and you kind of go, oh, well, they've been jobbing him out forever anyway. You get rid of Hawkins, same thing. If you start getting rid of things where something like even The Bump, because I'm sure that there are people out there who watch The Bump religiously. If you start doing something where even those guys are just, hey, you're gone, then you're sending out the message of, uh-oh, there's something really wrong here.
Well, they did. They got rid of John Quasto and Aiden English.
But
and Jerry Soto, commentator.
So John Quasto was doing NXT live events.
He was doing 205 Live.
Was he doing 205 Live?
Yeah. It was him and Aiden English.
Ugh. See, I don't watch 205 Live. I've not.
So yeah, so they got rid of the 205 Live commentary team.
Ooh, really? I guess. Hey, Byron, Tom, remember how you were doing nothing at the beginning of the year?
Right?
Here you go. You're doing everything, boys.
We haven't seen Vic Joseph in a while. Surprised that they didn't.
They fired him.
He's part of this list?
Wasn't he fired?
I didn't think that he was fired.
I thought I heard he was fired. Hold on, let me check.
I didn't think so. Maybe, I mean, if he already was, then that's why he didn't get fired, because he already was.
No. I mean, like in this list, I thought he was on there.
I don't have Vic Joseph on my list.
He was heavily rumored, but no, they didn't officially let him go.
So that's like Vic Joseph, okay? Like I would have thought that maybe because he wasn't a part of these things going on for a little while, like it's just this is like,
I guess it's gonna be like when Quasto and Kathy Campanelli, when they start doing live events again, they'll come back.
I hope that almost everybody that's on this list comes back, and I hope that the reason why certain people don't is because they find better jobs elsewhere.
Right, and that's exactly what I think it'll be. Like if, for example, if Nick doesn't go back, O'Gorelli, it's because he started doing Ring of Honor.
Yeah, or EC3 goes to AEW, or Heath Slater becomes like a big dude for MLW.
Like, yeah,
like I think that some people, no matter what, they're gonna find their way back. Like
Rusev has to come back at some point, right?
I don't know why they didn't get rid of Lana. Like Lana can't be that valuable to them. That
she's in one of the few storylines they have right now.
Fuck it, the storyline's awful. Just get rid of it. They've dropped plenty of bigger.
Well, they're about to. Maybe they will. Maybe when Lashley drops her, they'll get rid of her.
Maybe because it seems like she's probably making more money that would end up being worth that. Because Lana's not going to be around forever, and she's not a wrestler. And if you don't pair her up with the right person, she's not doing that great of a job as a manager anyway. So what are you paying her for? Because she's hot? There's plenty of hot people. She wants to be an actress. She wants to be a model. She wants to do whatever. Let her do that. And, she could be off with her husband elsewhere. Like, it seems crazy to me.
But I do want to, and we're eventually going to pivot into like the television shows, but it's so strange to me that this year started with Rusev and Lana in like the top angle on Raw. It was headlining all the episodes of Raw, and it's not even 3 months later, and he's gone.
Nothing at the beginning of the year prepared us for what's happening now. It's insane.
And to be real, even sans pandemic, like this year in a wrestling context was still pretty strange.
Yeah. Look at the Royal Rumble. We had WWE champion Brock Lesnar entering number one, and like
he wasn't defending. It was just I want to be in the Rumble. Edge comes back because hey, that's a thing.
Isn't there a rumor that Beth Phoenix might be on the cutting room floor too?
I read something that Beth was on the cut, but like I think furloughed at the most. Hey, we're gonna have Saxton and Phillips. And by the way, again, congrats, guys, because at the beginning of the year you were doing nothing. Do NXT for a while, So, hey, Beth, stay home with your girls. We don't need you right now. We'll bring you back. We won't even announce that we're letting you go.
Right.
Because we'll bring you back.
Hopefully they don't get rid of, like, Mauro Ranallo or, I don't know, like Andy Shepherd or, like there's so many, like, we could just, tomorrow there could be another 15 names cut or something, but the whole thing sucks.
There was a rumor that yesterday was supposed to be really bad.
And ended up being mostly a couple NXT people, right?
Yeah, you just heard, Nick O'Gorelli confirmed via Twitter that he's gone. PWI said to Narakanchi, and it wasn't like bad. I was worried because I'll be honest, for the first time since this pandemic started, I really felt like, oh, we're now like the repercussions of this are going to be felt for so long.
It's crazy, and unfortunately, that's not the worst news that happened this week.
No, because then Thursday I go to the bathroom, I come back, and Howard Finkel died. What happened there, Tony?
Yeah, Howard Finkel, age 69. The Fink passes away. He's been sick for a long time. plenty of people have talked about for the past couple of years that he wasn't doing too well, and it just seems like all that caught up to him. And that is like, after this whole, what they're calling Black Wednesday, all these people getting released and all this uncertainty and all this depression and all this stuff or whatever, then it's like, oh, by the way, the voice of pro wrestling died.
The voice of WWE. Honestly, we tend to jab at Steph for the way she speaks. Her verbiage is very phony at times. But it was her tweet that really got me. Because she said it's already been such a tough week for our WWE family. And now our first ever employee has passed away. And it's just like, oh, man. Like, I feel that. Like, she says, and what has already been a tough week for our WWE family. Today we lost our first ever employee and Hall of Famer, Howard Finkel. Howard's voice is iconic and recognized by generations of fans. He will be missed. Like,
it just sucks, because it's just like, Fink was such a nice dude.
And that's coming out left and right, how, like, he was just a genuinely good dude.
I met him at the WrestleMania 29 Access, and I had given out my card to everybody that I met throughout that whole process, because I was like, hey, if you ever want to be on a podcast, like that kind of stuff. He was the nicest one out of the bunch. He was the one that was like, oh, that'd be great. I'd love to do that. Everything has to be approved through the office, so I can't agree to anything outright, but I'll send the things along and I'll see what's happening, and like that would be great. Oh, Smark Out Moment. Oh, that's a pretty cool name. Like just a good dude. And I mean, his voice alone, like, you're not going to get any better than Howard Finkel.
Howard Finkel is wrestling. Like, when I hear the winner of this bout and it's just like, and nobody does that. I don't care what anybody says. Like, Justin Roberts is good. Nobody's the Fink. And
like, Robert's big takeaway is Gian, that kind of thing. Whether it's John Cena or John Moxley, that's his thing. Tony Chimmel has the rated R superstar. Howard Finkel just is like, all right, that's just the template. Like, if I were to do my all-time roster, where you're picking, like, who's the commentary, who are the referees, who are, like, all this stuff, who's on the...
Howard Finkel's the voice. He just is. He has to be.
He is the one and only option for that. It's Howard Finkel's the ring announcer. The end. Like, there is no discussion.
If we were going to do a draft where, like, you took Howard, I would have such a hard time.
Right, because then you'd be like, I don't even know how to... What do you do at that point? You go, all right, well, shit, I can't get the best option now. Like,
yeah, Howard was the guy. He was just the voice of WWE, and it sucks. Like, it was one of the first times where I looked back, I looked around, and I went, the version of this that I love really doesn't even exist anymore,
Yeah.
And it was like a real, like, somber moment like that. Like, it's still WWE, and it's not like Howard was there last week, obviously. But when you hear that the person is gone, it's like, yeah, I guess you don't realize until right then, like, it's not the same. It hasn't been for a while, and losing Fink made me immediately feel that.
Yeah, it's awful. And obviously, the same as what happens all the time when these things happen. So many condolences to friends and family and all that kind of stuff, because it's just terrible, especially on a time frame like this, where I'm sure they're not going to be able to get, like, the big group of wrestlers all get together and go to the Fink's funeral and stuff like that. Like, that's fucking heartbreaking. That just sucks. Like, he deserved to get a big show out.
Yeah.
Terrible situation.
And just, you know what, though? At least there's no greater compliment I can give him than say, you were the best at everything you did. Like, you are the guy. And that's that.
So let's round this out with the final hot tag thing, let's talk about some TV shows. But before we do that, let me just do a quick plug for fanboysanonymous.com because I didn't explain that earlier. Geek culture website that you can find movie reviews and some different kinds of topics on that sort of spectrum. Just head on over to fanboysanonymous.com, like the Facebook, the Twitter, follow that stuff, subscribe to the YouTube channel, pay attention to whatever's happening there because you never know what's going to pop up. It might be something on the tech side, it might be something on the podcast side. I'd love to do more for it, and I hope that you enjoy anything that I do for it.
I hope to be a part of everything you do for it.
Anything that you're able to. Definitely.
All right.
So let's talk Raw, NXT, SmackDown. We got some Money in the Bank qualifiers and stuff, and I'm not going to break down every single thing.
We got Money in the Bank news.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about, like, hey, Tahuti Miles lost to Angel Garza. Like, nobody really cares.
Well, I do want to talk about the fact that Zelina Vega's stable. Because Austin Theory did it, yo. He skipped the line completely, and that's amazing and should never be forgotten. But Zelina Vega's stable owned, like, the first 90 minutes of the show.
Well, we got Asuka and Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax are in Money in the Bank now.
Yep. They are about who I would expect given the qualifying matches, especially considering the person Shayna beat is no longer employed by the company. You know, Shayna in a ladder match feels weird. Shayna in a ladder match that she's going to be in is even weirder. Asuka in a ladder match, pretty cool. Asuka in this ladder match, this should be fun.
And we also got that we should be pretty certain at this point that Drew McIntyre's next feud is going to be Seth Rollins.
Yeah, and I think that's a great feud. They probably go for 2 months, I'd say. But what is Kevin Owens going to do?
It's nothing, it seems, right now. Maybe he'll be in a qualifying match for the Money in the Bank or something, but I don't think that that's happening because they announced Rey Mysterio versus Buddy Murphy, Aleister Black versus Austin Theory, and Apollo Crews versus MVP. The guy who retired. Weird
lineup. Given the circumstances and the fact that this is likely going to be yet another cinematic match, I think Rey has to be involved, which is unfortunate because Buddy Murphy could use the bump. Oddly enough, the one that I'm not sure about the most is Austin Theory and Aleister Black.
I feel like that's going to Black.
Black could do it, but Austin Theory is on a roll.
I think that that's kind of strange. We got the whole setup with well, they announced this on SmackDown, so I guess we'll talk about that when it comes to that. But let's go over to, well, is there anything else from Raw? Do you feel like it's important to talk about?
I felt like there was something, but it's not popping back up in my brain right now, so maybe not.
On the NXT side of things, it was a lot of just matches that happened. Like Balor beat Eichner, Xia Li beat Aaliyah, Tozawa beat Isaiah Swerve Scott in the first match on the
Well, there you go. You
tournament.
Can't fire him. He's winning matches, don't he?
Weird situation, but Dexter Lumis had another match against Tahuti Miles. Tahuti Miles, this dude is just wrestling all the time now. Timothy Thatcher is going to be the replacement for Pete Dunne as the Broserweights.
Like, okay, Timothy Thatcher and Matt Riddle have history as Evolve, as a team in Evolve and PWG and stuff like that, but sure. Timothy Thatcher is now NXT Tag Champion.
And Tommaso Ciampa was attacked by Karrion Kross.
I don't like the name.
Could be worse, could be better. It's better than Kevin Kross.
Yeah, but I think there needs to be a reasoning for, like, why'd you choose that name? Is there a character that you associate with, or because Carrion? What a weird name.
Well, Carrion means like corpse.
Oh, okay. All right. So. You just solved it for me. That makes sense then.
There's even like a Spider-Man villain. Forget the name of the guy. Like his name's Carrion. But he's like, I think if he touches you, he could like DK you or something like that. Like,
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you for clearing that up. So I like it now.
So on the SmackDown side of things, we had some more confirmation that Bray Wyatt is going to be facing Braun Strowman going forward. Tamina beat Sasha Banks, so we're going to get Tamina versus Bayley.
At Money in the Bank.
We got a little bit of the more Jeff Hardy thing. It seems like Sheamus is going to potentially be in a feud with him.
Weird, but okay.
We got the announcement that Money in the Bank is going to take place on top of Titan Towers. The place that they were going to get rid of.
And they still probably are, but now they're going to have a match.
It's going to go from the ground floor, and you have to get to the roof.
And think about that. I don't even know how many floors this thing is. Like
this is nuts. And it sounds kind of awesome, but it sounds terrible.
It sounds so... I want to be clear. It sounds like peak Vince Russo booking.
Yeah.
But, like, your hands are tied here. Have fun. You know?
I love that they're billing this climb the corporate ladder.
Yeah.
Like, that pun lover in me is just like, all right. This is
and the poster
great.
for this is so dope.
Like, although, why is Apollo Crews jumping to his certain death?
Well, he's got a drop kick to Buddy Murphy.
But the people that we got for this are Daniel Bryan beat Cesaro.
Mm-hmm.
So we're no Intercontinental title match. And Dana Brooke beat Naomi.
Yeah.
The hell?
And this was followed by Carmella saying, well, I don't even think you should be in this match because we have a women's tag title match next week, and surely you can't do both successfully. And then she goes and wins.
Very strange. I don't know why they're giving her this big push out of nowhere, but
it's fun though. Like the thing is to me is now we're entering an era where if this is going to be what it is going forward, how do you get back to status quo? Like,
it'll take another whole year.
I mentioned Austin Theory and Zelina Vega's stable. If you're going to build around them, you can't wake up on August 1st or whatever and decide, okay, we can do stadiums again. So call Randy, call Kevin, call Edge, call Brock, and Austin Theory, we got nothing for you, bud. Like, what if this guy is already a champion by then?
We might be looking at this in the future as another, like, invasion. Where it's just, like, the roster's all thrown up in the air and weird things happen.
It's going to be a really interesting time. Right now, I like that stable. It's probably one of my favorite things coming out of this week. Tamina and Dana Brooke being successful is more like, well, we took a wrong turn on the time-space continuum, and I don't know how we got here. But, we're here. Good for them. These cinematic ladder matches are going to be great. But how on earth do you ever just go back to normal?
And we also got Big E.
Right.
Won the SmackDown Tag Team Championship in a singles triple threat match.
I laughed in the Fightful group chat because I'm like, this doesn't feel real. Why did Big E just win the tag titles as a singles competitor in a singles match? It's very strange.
When he was just like dry humping the air, pelvic thrusting and stuff, I said to Caroline, I'm like, this seems even weirder with no people in the crowd, oddly enough. You'd think it would be the opposite, but no. And she was like, I think he's the only person that I'm actually glad I can hear better now.
Yeah, and when he won, like, you can hear him like licking the titles and just being like, I missed you. Oh, I told you. And I missed you. And it's just like, it's super weird, but it's also, not having people has made certain people more fun. Like, Corbin did the whole line of, play me a song, Santana. And I thought that was funny. Because, Corbin didn't get to be funny in an audience full of people that are just booing him. But what about a guy like Roman? So Roman, revealed that his wife is pregnant with twins. There's a rumor that she might have already had them between Royal Rumble and Super Showdown, and he's home. Now, if we go through July 8th with like the roster we have now, does that mean no Roman until the middle of December? Does that mean you have to like reintroduce Roman Reigns?
I think at that point they're just going to be like, Roman's back. That's it. Just,
I don't know.
yeah, the big return of this. And anybody who returns in that, they'll hype to try to get like...
It's like, hey, they're back. We're not going to explain to you why they were gone, but they're back.
They just be like, next week, you know who's coming back? It's Kevin Owens. Next week, you know who's coming back on SmackDown? It's Roman Reigns. Like, that kind of thing. Like,
and then they'll get off for like a whole 3 months on just like, oh man, isn't it so good to be back to normal?
And like the ratings bump and yeah. Weird times.
Yeah. Super strange times. And for all we know, we might be here until the end of the year.
Or longer. I don't know. But hopefully you had some fun times listening to this. I think we kind of rounded out all the things that we were going to talk about, at least for this edition. So I don't know when we're going to do the next hot tags. I don't know if we're going to keep doing this on Fridays or if we're going to try to bump it to different days. Kind of all depends. I don't even know what we're going to do for our main event for the next week.
Yeah, but let's just watch the main event.
Maybe
let's just watch the movie.
Maybe what it is. I currently had a blank week, so it's kind of up in the air. We could do maybe if we know all the people in the Money in the Bank at that point. Maybe we'll do Call the Spot. Maybe we'll do a fan announce table of Money in the Bank.
Oh, I'd enjoy that.
Yeah, there's options. So if you want to have anything in particular, drop a comment below. If you really want something, you want to make sure we do it, the Pick Your Poison tier on Patreon will ensure that we do. And I guess just like stay tuned and see what we're gonna do because we don't know what we're gonna do, so we can't tell you. That's 2020 for you. But I did my plugs. Rob's got some other plugs for you guys to be aware of as well. Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, I would just say the most important plug I can give you is Fightful.com and Fightful Select. Specifically Fightful Select. It's another Patreon deal, but Sean works so hard to get reliable sources and reliable information, and there's so much news breaking at any moment. So I would say hit up Fightful Select. Also, you can check out WrestleZone if you're just in a hurry and you need your quick fix of wrestling news. There is WrestleZone.com. And, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DudeFelice. You should know where to go if you're a long-time listener. And, yeah, thank you.
Well, that will do us in for episode number 437. We will see you next time, everybody. Make sure that you are staying safe. Make sure you're trying to stay sane. And washing your hands, turning the page, doing all that kind of stuff. And we'll talk to you later. For now, adios. This has been another Smark Out moment, and we're being counted out.